Imagine, just for a second, waking up one morning without that familiar, weight of debt pressing down. You might think that kind of financial breathing room is, well, just for a select few. But the truth is, it's achievable. And that's what we're diving into today.
That's right. We're looking at a really practical guide from SideBySide. It's all about demystifying debt and maybe more importantly, showing a clear way to actually escape its grip.
And let's be honest, debt often feels like just
Yeah.
another part of life, another bill to juggle.
It does for many people, yeah.
So what this deep dive aims to do is cut through that noise, give you the essential understanding you need to really take control. We want to pull out the actionable steps.
Precisely. So over the next little while, we'll unpack what debt actually is, look at proven ways to tackle it. You've probably heard of the snowball versus avalanche thing.
Oh yeah, those two.
Right. And then crucially, how to build habits so you stay out of debt for good. We'll touch on some real-life stories, expert views, and, the challenges people face too.
Okay, so our mission today is pretty clear. Arm you with practical knowledge. We want you to leave this feeling empowered, knowing what steps you can actually take.
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
So, starting right at the beginning, what is debt in simple terms?
Well, at its core, it's pretty straightforward. It's money you've borrowed that you've agreed to pay back, usually with interest tack on. Simple concept, but
the impact isn't simple.
Not at all. Understanding debt matters because, well, too much of it can really hurt your credit score, and that affects getting loans, renting, all sorts of things. Plus, it's a huge source of stress, right? And it just limits your options financially.
It's worth pointing out, though, like the guide does, that not all debt is necessarily bad, is it? We're mostly talking high-interest stuff here, not like a mortgage potentially building equity.
Exactly. That's a key distinction. And it's kind of fascinating. The guide mentions debt records going way back. Ancient Mesopotamia, apparently.
Wow, really? Clay tablets.
Yeah, clay tablets recording loans of grain and silver. It makes you realize this idea of borrowing and owing, it's been around forever, shaping economies and societies for, well, millennia.
Talk about a long history.
Yeah.
And our attitudes towards it have changed so much, haven't they?
Yeah.
Across different places and times.
Absolutely. The guide points this out too. Some cultures saw it as a tool, maybe even necessary for progress,
right,
like an investment. Others, a real source of shame, a stigma.
And today, in our consumer economies.
Well, there's definitely been a shift towards normalization. Credit is just so easy to get, sometimes maybe too easy. You swipe a card, click a button.
Without always thinking through the long term.
Exactly, which leads nicely into the psychology of it all. It's not always just about being irresponsible with money, is it?
No, definitely not. There's more to it.
Right. The guide talks about behavioral patterns, impulse buys, keeping up with the Joneses, that kind of thing. Marketing plays a huge role too, always nudging us to buy more. And then there are the big life things you can't plan for. Medical emergencies, losing a job. Those can push anyone into debt, even careful people. Understanding those triggers is like the first crucial step to getting control back.
Okay, so that gives us a good grounding in what debt is, the downsides, and sort of the why. So how do we actually tackle it? The SideBySide guide seems to have a structured plan.
It does. And step one is basically getting a really clear snapshot of where you stand financially. This means two main things. First, track your spending.
Knowing where the money actually goes.
Precisely. The guide mentions apps like Mint or YNAB. You need a budget. These tools can connect to your accounts and really visualize it for you. Sometimes it's surprising.
I bet. Those small daily coffees or subscriptions you forgot about.
They add up. The second part of this assessment is listing all your debts, everything.
Not just the total amount.
No, you need the details for each one. The current balance, the interest rate that's crucial, and the minimum payment you have to make. This list is your foundation for picking a strategy.
All right, makes sense. You can't plan a route without knowing the starting point and the terrain. So once you have that debt inventory, then comes budgeting.
Exactly. A budget is essential. The guide mentions a couple of approaches. First, zero-based budgeting.
Zero-based?
Yeah, the idea is every single dollar you earn gets assigned a job. Bills, groceries, savings, extra debt payments, everything. So income minus expenses equals zero. Forces you to be intentional.
Very deliberate.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other one, the envelope system. Sounds a bit old school.
It is, but it can be really effective. It's very tangible. You figure out where you tend to overspend, maybe eating out, entertainment, and you put a set amount of cash into actual physical envelopes for those categories.
Ah, I see.
Once the cash in the envelope is gone, that's it for the month in that category. No more spending there. It's a very real physical limit.
Okay, I can see how that would work for some people. So You know your debts, you've got a budget. Now the big decision. How do you actually attack the debt? Snowball versus avalanche. Let's break those down.
Okay. The debt snowball. This one's all about psychology. Building momentum. You list your debts, smallest balance to largest. Forget the interest rates for a moment.
Smallest balance first.
Yep. You pay the minimum on everything except that smallest debt. Any extra money you can find goes towards hammering that smallest one.
So you knock one off quickly.
Exactly. You get these quick wins, pay off a debt completely, and that feels good. It gives you a psychological boost, makes you feel like you're making progress, and keeps you motivated.
That makes a lot of sense. Seeing progress keeps you in the game. Okay, so what about the avalanche? How's that different?
The debt avalanche is more about the math. Saving money. You list your debts by interest rate, highest to lowest.
Highest rate first this time.
Right. Again, minimum payments on everything else, but all your extra cash goes to the debt with the highest interest rate.
And the logic there is?
Purely financial. That high interest debt is costing you the most money over time. By tackling it first, you minimize the total interest you pay throughout the whole process. It might take longer to get that first debt paid off compared to the snowball, but overall, you'll save more cash.
So it's a trade-off then. Snowball for motivation, avalanche for maximum savings. Really depends on what clicks for you, doesn't it?
Absolutely. What keeps you motivated is key. And the guide also stresses, it's not just about shuffling payments around. You might need to bring more money in.
Right, increasing income. Makes total sense. The more firepower you have, the faster the debt goes down.
Yeah.
What kind of things does the guide suggest?
Well, the usual suspects. Side hustles are a big one. Freelancing if you have skills, driving for a rideshare, online tutoring. Lots of options now. Or, simpler still, just sell stuff you don't need. Go through your closets, the garage. Decluttering can literally turn into cash for your debt.
Turn clutter into freedom. Okay, so boosting income is one side. The other is cutting expenses, which sounds obvious, but harder in practice.
It definitely requires discipline. But small changes really do add up. The guide gives examples. Cancel subscriptions you barely use. Be honest. Cook at home more often instead of eating out or getting takeout. Shop around for cheaper phone or internet plans. It's about consciously looking at where the money goes and trimming the fat.
Being intentional again. Okay, so budget tight, maybe earning more.
Yeah.
Are there other moves you can make, like talking to the people you owe money to?
Yes, absolutely. Negotiating. This is something people often forget or feel intimidated by. But you can call your credit card companies, explain your situation, and ask for a lower interest rate.
Does that actually work?
Sometimes. Not always, but it costs nothing to ask, and if they say yes, it can save you a lot. The guide also mentions balance transfer cards.
Wow, the 0% introductory offers.
Right. They let you move high-interest debt to a card with 0% interest for a limited time, maybe 12, 18 months. But, and this is a big, but you need to be careful. Well, there are often transfer fees like 3% or 5% of the amount transferred, and you absolutely need a plan to pay off that entire balance before the 0% period ends. Because after that, the interest rate usually jumps up really high. If you don't pay it off, you could end up worse off.
So use it strategically with a clear payoff plan, not just kicking the can down the road.
Got it.
And finally, what about those occasional windfalls? A bonus, tax refund.
Oh yeah, finding unexpected money feels great. The temptation is usually to splurge, right?
Totally. New gadget, vacation.
But the guide strongly advises resisting that urge if you're serious about debt freedom. Use that windfall strategically. Throw it directly at your debt. It can shave months, even years off your repayment time. A huge accelerator.
Makes sense. Use those boosts to get ahead faster. Okay, brilliant. So let's say you've done all this. You've worked hard, made sacrifices, and you're debt-free. Amazing feeling, I imagine. But the work isn't over, is it? How do you stay debt-free?
Yeah. That's the crucial next phase, building habits to keep you there. And the absolute cornerstone, according to the guide, is building an emergency fund.
The rainy day fund.
Exactly. This is your buffer. When the car breaks down or the boiler goes or you have an unexpected medical bill and these things will happen, you have cash set aside. You don't have to panic and reach for a credit card or take out a loan.
How much should be in there?
The advice is usually to start small, something achievable. Maybe aim for $500 or $1,000 first, just for those smaller bumps. But the long-term goal is typically 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. That provides real security.
Wow, okay. That takes time to build, but I can see the peace of mind it would bring. What other habits help?
just generally healthy financial routines. The guide mentions paying yourself first. That means treating savings and investing like a bill. Prioritize putting money aside before you pay other things or spend on extras.
Make saving non-negotiable.
Pretty much. Automating it helps hugely. Set up automatic transfers to your savings or investment accounts right after payday. Out of sight, out of mind. And just regularly checking in on your finances. Reviewing your budget, tracking your progress towards goals. Stay engaged.
Keeping your eye on the ball. And what about credit cards? After paying them all off, do you just cut them up?
Not necessarily. The guide talks about using credit responsibly going forward. It can actually be good for your credit score to have open accounts you manage well. The key is keeping your credit utilization low. That's the percentage of your available credit you're actually using. Aim to keep it under 30%, ideally lower.
And paying the balance off every month.
Absolutely critical. Pay the statement balance in full every single month on time. That way you avoid interest charges completely. And be wary of store cards. They often have super high interest rates and just tempt you to spend more.
Right. Use credit as a tool, not a crutch. Setting goals seems important too.
Definitely. Having clear financial goals gives your money purpose. Short-term goals like saving for a specific purchase, midterm, maybe a down payment for a car or a big vacation. And long-term, obviously, retirement investing. Knowing why you're saving and budgeting makes it easier to stick with it.
Gives you something to aim for. And lastly, the guide stresses just keep learning.
Yeah, financial education isn't a one-and-done thing. Things change, new products come out, your life circumstances change. So stay curious, read good financial blogs, maybe check out classic books like Your Money or Your Life or Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. Listen to finance podcasts, keep learning.
It's an ongoing process.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so to make this all feel more real, the side-by-side guide includes some stories and expert takes. Tell us about Sarah's story.
Yeah, Sarah's case is pretty inspiring. She's a teacher from Texas, found herself with $25,000 in debt, credit cards, student loans.
That's a significant amount.
It is. But she decided to tackle it. She used the debt snowball method, focusing on the smallest debts first for those motivational wins. She got serious about tracking her spending with budgeting apps. And the result? Debt-free in under 3 years.
Wow, under 3 years. That shows it's possible with focus.
Absolutely. It really highlights how combining a strategy like the snowball with consistent tracking and budgeting can work.
And there's a quote in there from Dave Ramsey too, right?
Yeah, a well-known one. He says, "Live like no one else now, so later you can live like no one else."
Sacrifice now for freedom later.
That's the essence of it. Making those disciplined choices in the short term to build real, lasting financial freedom down the road.
The guide also throws in some stats that kind of paint the bigger picture.
It does. One stat from Experian in 2023 said the average U.S. household debt was over $96,000.
$96,000, that's a lot. Shows how common this struggle is.
It really does. But here's the flip side, an encouraging stat. 70% of people who actually have a written financial plan feel more in control of their money.
So just the act of planning makes a difference.
It seems so. Having that roadmap gives you a sense of agency.
Okay, but let's be balanced. No strategy is perfect for everyone, right? The guide acknowledges criticisms.
Yes, it's important to see both sides. With the debt snowball, the main knock is that because you're not prioritizing interest rates, you could end up paying more interest overall compared to the avalanche.
The motivation costs you a bit more, potentially.
Exactly. And with the debt avalanche, while it saves the most money, that feeling of progress can be slower at the start because you might be tackling a huge high-interest loan first. It might not feel like you're getting quick wins, which can be demotivating for some.
So you got to know yourself. And we can't ignore the bigger picture either, the economy.
Absolutely not. Things like job insecurity, rising inflation, interest rates going up. These are real economic barriers that can make getting out of debt incredibly difficult, regardless of your personal effort. The guide does mention that sometimes external help like government programs or community support might be needed.
It's not always just about individual willpower. And what about the mental side? Debt is stressful.
Hugely stressful. Financial anxiety is a real thing. And decision fatigue, too, constantly having to make careful choices about money can be exhausting and overwhelming.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So the guide wisely points out the value of getting support if you need it. Talking to a mental health professional or maybe a financial coach can make a massive difference in navigating the emotional toll of dealing with debt.
That's a really important point. Don't try to tough it out alone if it's overwhelming. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the main takeaway, the core message you want people to hear?
I think the biggest thing is hope, really. Debt does not have to be your permanent reality. It's a chapter, yes, but it's one you absolutely can close with the right information, the right strategies, and importantly, the right mindset. Lasting financial freedom is genuinely possible for anyone.
And remembering that starting is the key. That first step, even if it feels tiny, listing your debts, cutting one small expense, downloading an app, it matters. Every single dollar paid off is a step towards peace of mind.
Couldn't agree more. Every step counts. And maybe, just to leave you with something to think about, what's one small, concrete action you could take today just to understand your own debt situation a little better? Just one thing. And consider how that single action might start to shift how you feel about your financial future.